in my mind, as a child, sitting in front of the television, a pageant girl was someone light skinned or white with flowy hair.
Mm.
That's not me. So I remember my husband said, "Well, go change it." And I don't think he really thought I would do it.
Welcome to the Greatness Ignited podcast, where we have conversations about the greatness of others so that you can recognize the greatness in you. My name is Barry Overton, and I have been studying greatness for the last 7 years, and it is taking my career to new heights. And now me and a few of the successful people that I have had the honor of interviewing are coming together to ignite your greatness and light the fire within. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Greatness Ignited podcast. My name is Barry Overton, and I am your host. And I am excited to be here because, see, on this podcast, this is where we're having conversations with others to talk about the greatness in them so that you can recognize the greatness in you. Today is a special treat. We got an amazing woman that's doing some great things right now in the Colorado market, and really it's branching out all over the country. But what I want to do is I want to introduce her to you and tell you a little bit about her. So first of all, she spent 23 years in the insurance industry. She suffered 2 layoffs during that time, so things were not always perfect in her life. She had the ups and downs with it. One of those downs was taking care of her father that suffered from dementia, and during that time she started to have her own challenges. She had weight challenges, she had health challenges, and it got to a point where she had to make a decision to be able to take care of herself. And in making that decision, it was a defining moment in her life that really took her on the trajectory that her life is currently on right now. It opened up a whole new life of fitness, fashion, and beauty for her. And she's competed in fitness competitions. She's competed in beauty pageants right here in the Colorado market. And she's done this starting at the age of 58. And ladies and gentlemen, she's winning. She's winning against other ladies that are probably half her age or so, but she's doing it with grace, and she's doing it to a standpoint where it is inspiring so many other people all across the country right now. And she's inspiring me. I'm not looking to be in a beauty pageant, but I am truly inspired by what she's been able to do, because it shows that we don't get to a certain age in life and now we have to retire and sit on the couch and do nothing. As a matter of fact, when we start doing nothing, those are the times when we start to have the different health issues in our life. She experienced that and she said, you know what? I'm going to do something about it. And that's an inspiration for me. It's an inspiration for so many others. So, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Sylvia Waller. How are you doing? Oh, how are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. As you know, as I was saying in the introduction, I mean, you've been a huge inspiration. I've been just kind of on the outside looking in. I've had the opportunity to help you prep for one of your pageants, one of the national pageants that you were
Yeah.
was doing, and it was in that moment that I was like, I was awestruck. I was impressed because again, it's not often that you see someone that's, approaching 60 at that time and saying, you know what, this is something that I'm passionate about and I want to do. And it all started really because of some health challenges. But I always say that the things that you're doing, when you're 30, the things you're doing when you're 40, the things you do when you're 50, 60, whatever the case may be, it's ingrained in us from a very young age. And
Mhm.
so I always like to kind of start our conversation just talking about, life growing up for Sylvia Waller. Can you share a little bit about life growing up?
For me, life growing up was awesome. I'm an only child, and I was very close with my parents. So my parents were very family oriented, and we did a lot together as a unit. Um, But I have to tell you, growing up in the 60s was not easy because of, you know, colorism.
Mhm.
And my mother was lighter skin, and my dad is darker skin, and I'm basically James with lipstick. I look just like my dad. So, and his sisters. So, I remember having the issue of being very insecure about, my dark skin. And as a child, I would cry because kids would tease me. And they were very cruel. And I remember my parents both embracing the fact that, you're dark skinned, but you're also beautiful. And my mother would say, beauty comes in all shades, comes in all sizes. And, they just tried to make me well rounded.
Mhm.
But society as a whole was not kind to dark skin. And even though my parents would say, you're beautiful, I didn't believe it in my heart. And I think that is where the confidence comes in. I believed it in my head. I mean, I knew they always told me that, but um, I did not believe it in my heart because society told me different. You would go out in the world and, you know, you're not beautiful and you see all the books, you see the images and they don't look like you.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't until I got a little older and I started feeling a little more comfortable with who I am. I never had an issue with um, real insecurity, but I would just kind of put a glass ceiling on myself. Like, well, that would never happen because I'm not looked at as a beauty image.
Mhm.
But I was okay with who I am. I felt comfortable. But it wasn't until I got older, I think I had children and, um, I had already gotten out of the beauty industry because I really loved it. I remember sitting as a child watching Miss America, Miss United, Miss USA, and it wasn't until I think Vanessa Williams, but of course she was light skinned, but she was African American, she was black, so we celebrated.
Mhm.
And I used to look at the models in the magazines, and my favorite was Iman. She was from Africa, she was dark skinned, but she was the only one that graced the cover of Vogue and all the magazines. And I'm short, so I've always wanted to be in the fashion industry,
Mhm.
but because of my height, I wasn't able to do that. So I taught for a little bit at John Casablancas, modeling school, and I danced a little bit, and so I've always liked the arts, and that's what I wanted to do as a kid. And my dad, my dad said, "Absolutely not. If
Mhm.
I'm paying for college, you're going to a 4-year college to get a business degree or something." So that's what I did. I got a marketing degree and, settled down, had children. I had 2 sons. And so, at that point, I said, maybe modeling, let me get out of that industry because I really didn't want them ingrained in that, So I did the boy thing, and I, I followed my kids. I basically kept my kids ingrained in sports because I divorced um, my ex-husband when my youngest son was a year. So I
Mhm.
was a single mom for 12 years and I had 2 boys with a lot of energy.
Mhm.
And I said, I do not want to lose them to statistics. So I enrolled them in every sport that there was just to see which one that they would, rise to the occasion. And my little one had so much energy, I put him in track. I put both of them in track. And I told the coach, just run him so that we can all sleep at night. And, the coach said, "You know what, Sylvia? They both have, some talent, so I think you should put them in a competitive, track club." So
Mm,
that's what I did, and so they were in track, football, basketball, so, when they were younger, it was exhausting, but I knew it would pay off, and they both got scholarships. So the youngest one, of course, got a track scholarship to OSU. And then my, oldest got a, scholarship to UNC to play football. So after all that, we did the collegiate thing. I traveled with them to watch, the track meets and the football games, and in the midst, my dad got sick, and, my mom had passed away in 2005. So my dad really struggled, and, I admired their marriage. It was, a love straight out of high school, and, my mom was the only person my dad ever lived with other than his mom. He went from mother to marriage to the army, and so when she passed, he was lost, and, so it was just me and dad, and then, like I said, I'm a daddy's girl, and, it was just us, and then I noticed he started acting very peculiar, maybe 11 years after mom had passed, and I thought I didn't know what it was, I had heard of Alzheimer's, I've heard of dementia, but I didn't know what it was, and, pretty much around the same time, his older sister was in stage 4 of Alzheimer's.
mm,
And I thought, how did that happen? They kept it, so, um, with with me being an only child, my dad started to deteriorate pretty fast because he started drinking again,
mm,
and, basically said, "I need to take the edge off at night." So he would have a drink at night, and it was compromising his health, and so that's pretty much how he, just basically deteriorated with the dementia because the alcohol pretty much, you know, um, forced the dementia to come on pretty fast.
mhm.
And so that stress of trying to take care of the household and trying to take care of my dad, and the kids were in college, and and then trying to work and take care of him and my own household, it it really took a toll on me. But, looking at everything my dad did for me, I being an only child, we did everything together. My dad was my hero. And, to watch my hero deteriorate and go from the man who had all the answers, to a 5-year-old, it was something that I wouldn't wish on anybody. And, I often reflect back to my childhood and how awesome it was, because it was the 3 of us, and my, my parents were very open, and we had open dialogues. Now I have to admit, middle school, kids are a little weird, middle school, so that was a disconnect with my parents because parents just don't understand, right? And and so, I we did have some issues there, but, we got through them, and as a parent, I understand when I was taking care of my kids, I remember, my middle school years, but it wasn't until I got to college that I really appreciated everything that my parents did. My father was very strict on me, and I think a lot of that comes because when a father knows the things that he's done, in his younger years, and he
Mm,
has a daughter. He's gonna protect his daughter, from the wolves that are out there.
mm,
So, my dad was a little strict, but he was very open and he loved to talk. So we could talk about anything. And that is, I think, what has made me the person that I am today because I um, I am open to talk about things, but on the other hand, because I'm an only child, I do keep things to myself. There are some things that I feel like, oh, I'll figure it out myself because I'm so used to being by myself. And I have no problem sitting there trying to figure out where do I go from here. So I think sometimes with young people, especially now, um, with all of the mental health, I've been through um, the sadness and depression and just my life isn't going the way I thought it should. But sometimes when you just sit and have a just a moment with God and just realign yourself and try to figure out what is my purpose? Why am I here? I'm here for a purpose. God doesn't make mistakes. And just figure out what it is you're supposed to do. And everything that's happened to me, my life has not been rosy. So I've always been that kind of person who, when things happen, I always say, what was the lesson that I was supposed to learn from that? Why did it happen? Um, and I think that is what is missing because we're afraid to be alone and we're afraid to sit and get to know ourselves. And through time, I've evolved. Um, I removed that glass ceiling because that glass ceiling was on me for years. And if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would definitely tell my younger self, break through that glass ceiling of doubt and fear because you can do all things through Christ if you believe in Him and believe in yourself. And a lot of times we say that, but we don't necessarily believe that. So we'll put that glass ceiling on, you know, our dreams. We'll put that glass ceiling on our ability. And that's what holds you back. And I have to say, now that I'm on the second chapter of my life, I I've removed that glass ceiling. Now sometimes that glass ceiling will try to, you know, revolve and try to keep me in contained. But then, I just keep moving. I just keep moving forward and say, because now I feel as though I have the ability to try whatever, well, let me try and see if I can do that. Let me see if I can do that. And I think that's what keeps me thriving. And I have this ability to let's see if I can be the best me that I can be. So I don't compare myself to other people like I used to, you know. Um, I've just learned to stay in my lane and also embrace the uniqueness of myself.
mm,
So when you talk about pageantry, um, I remember when someone saw me on Facebook and and said, "Hey, have you thought about being in a pageant?" And I said, "No, that has not crossed my mind because I don't think I look like a pageant girl."
mm,
And I remember my husband said, "Well, what does that look like?" And I said, "It's not me." I mean, in my mind, as a child sitting in front of the television, a pageant girl was someone light skinned, or white with flowy hair. That's
Mhm.
not me. So I remember my husband said, "Well, go change it." And I don't think he really thought I would do it. So, um, I think with all of the challenges that I've had, um, it has kind of molded me into the person that I am. So after my father had passed, well, actually, I had a wake up call when I was taking care of dad, like you mentioned earlier. And so a friend of mine helped me to lose weight and entered me into a fitness competition. And I
Before you jump into that, I want to just cover what those challenges were because I know we have viewers that are experiencing those same things, and a
okay.
lot of times I think we get caught up in the idea of now we have this, whether it's high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever the case may be, that we're stuck with. And we have control of that. I mean, those are diseases that we
Hmm.
acquire based off of our eating habits, our workouts, or fitness, the things that we're doing. So I'd love for you to just share that part of it because what we see on the surface of the different pageants that you've won, that's what we see on the stage, but there's so much that goes into making it to the stage,
That's true.
and the true reward was being able to get your health back. So I definitely want to touch on some of those health challenges that you were having.
Okay. Yeah. So my family, we have diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. And I've always been pretty athletic and pretty healthy, but stress can really break down your body. So during that period, my blood pressure had risen and my sugar level had risen. So um, I had gained weight. And as when I was pregnant, I had gestational diabetes with both of my kids. And I think I had only put on like maybe 20 pounds with both of them. So I didn't really gain a lot, but the doctor told me that I have um, the history of I'm borderline diabetic. So he says when you get older, you have to stay within a certain weight range in order to control your diabetes. Well, because I was stressed and taking care of dad, I had gained weight. And so my sugar level had risen and my migraines were plaguing me. So I wasn't eating right. So everything that I was eating a lot of fried foods, a lot of sugar, a lot of processed foods, things that, when you're stressed and when you're in a hurry, you just grab something. So
Mhm,
that was killing me.
mhm,
And I when the doctor told me that, that's when I decided I needed to change my diet. And that's not an easy thing to do because for me and most people, I eat for comfort,
yeah,
so,
mhm,
I want some mashed potatoes with some gravy and smothered and this and that because it's comforting.
mhm,
And I had to push away from it. And it's not hard when it makes you feel bad. So I had gotten away from it when my trainer was training me for the fitness competition, and I remember when I went back to eat, I was visiting. I went back to Louisiana, and we were eating. My aunt had cooked, and I don't remember. I think it was fried catfish and, you know, the whole 9 yards with the mashed potatoes and the, mac and cheese and oh, and she made a red velvet cake. So, I indulged,
mhm,
and I did not feel good, and that was the moment where I said, "My body needs good food." Now I still eat it from time to time, but I've learned how to I like to say eat for purpose. So
mhm,
I eat to keep my body healthy and my body alive, keep me alive.
mhm,
And then every now and then I'll eat indulge in something like that, but I notice if I eat too much of it, it makes me sick.
Mm,
So, the challenges that I'm still facing is my diet, because I still like to eat for comfort. And now I have osteoarthritis. So, aging, I compare myself to a 1960 Chevy because, you got a 1960 Chevy.
mm,
Eventually, you're going to have to replace the parts. Things break down. And that's the way I feel.
yeah.
2021 has been a year of breakdowns.
Mhm,
So for me, with the osteoarthritis, it started in my knees because I'm a runner.
mhm,
And so I've dealt with that for the last 15, 20 years. But now it's moved into my hips
mm,
and back, feet, hands, so you look at it and say, I hurt, but you're going to hurt regardless if you don't move and if you move. So you might as well move.
yeah.
So I've watched my parents and I don't want to be that. I don't want to, as I say, I don't want to go out like that. So I want to be here thriving. I always say I want to be smiling today and sleep tomorrow. So
Mhm,
I just want to, stay as active as possible. So preparing for um, Mrs. Colorado last year was challenging because of my knees. So my
mhm,
trainer, I thought he did a great job because he would, okay, well, your knees are bothering you today. Let's work on shoulders and back. And
mhm,
then we would do certain leg exercises that wouldn't tax the knees too much. So
mm,
I've had to learn how to do more bench press or leg press as opposed to squats because it's less on your joints.
mhm,
And so I'm having to readjust again because I've got shoulder issues. So I've got something going on in this left shoulder and don't know what it is yet, but
mm,
I'm going to get an MRI today. But I
mm,
just kept saying, you know what? These age is not going to change me. I'm going to change the way I age. So that's my mantra. I'm gonna change
yeah,
the way I age. So if I can't do this, I'll back up and try something different. So when you see me on the stage, that took a lot of grit, dedication, and you know, um, determination because it's not easy. And to be transparent, I don't like working out,
yeah.
but I work out because I feel better when I do.
There's greatness within you. We've all heard those words before, but do we truly believe it? I can tell you, it took me about 3 years of studying greatness before I realized there truly is greatness inside of me. And I wrote a book called Ignite Your Greatness that proves the theory that we all have greatness within us. And I take it a step further. Once I prove it to you, I tell you exactly how to ignite the fire within you and take your life to new heights. Get your copy of Ignite Your Greatness at igniteyourgreatness.com. Also available on Amazon. Yeah. And I like I use a workout analogy quite a bit in regards to life because you're right. In many instances, I've worked out for the majority of my adult life. And it's not necessarily that I do it because I enjoy doing it, but I do it to help my body maintain and to live a longer, healthier life.
Mhm,
And but what your trainer said, I love that because again, your knees are hurting. In the most people's mentality would be, well, I need to work out today, but my knees hurt, so I'm not going to do anything. But your trainer said, well, your knees hurt. Let's work on shoulders and back. And
mhm,
it's really that's how life can go when you have a business, and maybe there's a certain aspect of your business that you can't focus on right now, but there are other areas of your business that you can work on and then come back to this other area that you weren't able to work on today. And I mean, and there's life situations much like that as well. So that plays a big part in so many things that we do. And then I love the fact every time I go to the gym and I see someone in their 70s or their 80s that are working out, I always go up to them and just I have questions for them, and then I applaud them for what they're doing because I want to be that guy at that age as well. And so seeing you doing this, at 58, now 61, I have no doubts that you'll just continue, to, because again, the importance of being able to do it. And really the age is just here,
Yeah.
and, but you know how important it is to maintain the body and keep going.
Yeah. And there's a connection with the body and the brain.
Mhm.
So, it all revolves around the experience that I had with my dad, just
Yeah. Mhm.
watching him thrive. He used to golf. I mean, he was an avid golfer. And then to watch him go from golfing every day to not wanting to walk to the mailbox,
Mhm.
because he hurts or he's not feeling well.
Mhm.
And I saw that and I said, I don't want to do that. And then also the inactivity affected his brain too. And getting more involved with the Alzheimer's Association, I've learned that mind, body, spirit, it's all connected. So the exercise and the diet is all connected to Alzheimer's and dementia.
Mhm.
So a healthy lifestyle, diet, and exercise is will help you to fight, because there's no cure and there's no prevention right now. But studies have shown that a healthy lifestyle, diet, and exercise can help fight. So,
Mhm.
because there's so much dementia and Alzheimer's in my family,
Mhm.
um, you know, I've got three strikes. So the statistics show that African Americans are twice as likely to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia. And
Mhm.
Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. And women are two-thirds
Mhm.
of the population that are affected by Alzheimer's. And then if you have had a parent or a relative,
Mhm.
you're at risk. I got three strikes. So
Mhm.
I am doing everything that I can. And then I also volunteer I do volunteer um, educational classes on healthy brain and body and the connection, because I'm an avid of the healthy lifestyle, the diet, and the exercise, and that connection, and then getting it out to the community, letting them know that it's important. 30 minutes a day to just
Mhm.
walk
Yeah.
is important. Add some leafy greens to your diet. A lot of times and I tell this joke because my dad, coming from Louisiana, everything we ate was smothered, covered in butter. And and then even the vegetables,
Mhm.
our vegetables, green beans, they weren't green, they were gray. They were
Uh,
cooked so much that they were gray with fat back. And,
mhm.
you know, eh, don't cook your greens to the point where they're gray. You need greens.
Yeah.
And so, those are some of the changes that I make. And those are some of the changes that I talk about when I'm out in the community doing the classes on the healthy brain and body. And
Mhm.
that's important. That's very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. And so again, starting this journey for yourself in your 50s with the fitness and then the pageants, there has to be a mindset because there's definitely a mindset that I think the masses have that, again, once we hit 55, 60 years of age, that we're supposed to kind of just shut down on life. We're supposed to be taking it easy and not pursuing, not necessarily even pursuing our dreams. But as you've been talking, one of the things that I learned for myself, and I'm learning from you as well, is that I heard when you were a little girl that, fashion and dance and those things were dreams for you. And then
Mhm.
and we always have what I call the dream stealers. And a lot of times the dream stealers,
Yeah.
it sounds like a sinister person, but in most cases, it's someone that's very close to us and they feel like they're doing us a favor.
Mhm.
My grandmother was my dream stealer. She told me I couldn't be Superman. And and in essence, your father loved you, you loved your father, but there was a piece of where he was saying, you don't go this route. Have this foundation, this solid foundation, but you're going to have to put this dream, on hold, or you're going to have to put it, on the back burner.
Mhm.
But you brought it back to the front burner in your 50s when, number one, you said, okay, I got to get healthier. I'm going to do it. I'm going to use my dream, my passion of fitness and of beauty and fashion and all those things to help be a driving force. So have you seen for yourself that this has allowed you to have more motivation and inspiration to get up every morning, versus someone that's just saying, well, I'm gonna work out for my health, but having a goal that you have in front of you that is attached to keep having better health. Have you seen that be beneficial to you?
Oh, definitely. I have to have a goal. If I
Yeah,
don't have a goal, then I find myself going, I'll do it tomorrow.
yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes.
Hmm.
So that's why I kept the trainer because he keeps me accountable. And, like I said, I've got, the arthritis, and he'll say, well, okay, well, if your hips are hurting today, we'll work on, the shoulders and back. If your shoulders and backs are hurting, we'll stretch.
Hmm.
But you're not gonna not do anything.
Yeah.
So, he keeps me accountable, which is great. And I think we have to have a goal of something. And I think that that might be what's going on in my head. Let me go see if I can do that. I did the fitness competition, not something that I want to do on a regular basis, but I did it,
Yeah.
checked it off, and said, okay, accomplished.
Hmm.
Now it's the beauty pageants, and it encompasses all of my childhood dreams, there's the fashion, there's the I love to dress up, and then there's the beauty side of it. But I know a lot of people think that pageants are antiquated and outdated, but pageants have evolved, and the pageants that are going on now, and just from my own experience, it's more than about prancing around, am I beautiful? I think it's more about a declaration, especially when you're my age, or even if, you're in your 30s and you've had your children, and now you're like, now what? You've lost yourself in your family and your kids, and you're trying to find yourself. And I
Hmm.
think with a pageant, it helps you to redefine maybe who you are, maybe step out and face some of your fears. Mine was public speaking, still is,
Hmm.
but I face it, and I stepped out, and I'm getting better at it because I'm facing that fear.
Hmm.
And as with pageants, you might be afraid for people to judge you. Who cares? For me, um, beauty is a service. So it's an action word. So when people say, what is beauty? Well, it's an action word, because beauty comes from the heart. It comes from within. The a fruitful heart is an action. So if you have a fruitful heart, that is a beautiful soul is a beautiful person. That's a person who loves, who's kind, who's gentle. So those are all action words. So when I look at beauty, I see an action word and I see a person who is beautiful from within because they have a fruitful heart. Because a fruitful heart can permeate the outside. And
Mhm.
then I also look at everyone that participates and everyone, everyone's beautiful. God created us all in his image. That's how I feel.
Mhm.
So when I look at a pageant, um, I don't see my uh, pageant sisters as competition per se, because I feel like we're all like beautiful flowers in a garden and the
Mhm.
judges are looking at this beautiful garden of flowers. And, today the judge might feel like they want a red rose,
Mhm.
but the pink rose is still beautiful. But it's just the judges connected with that red rose.
Yeah.
That's how I see a pageant. So I don't see it as, oh my God, if I don't win, I'm not, I'm less than who I thought I was. You have to be confident in yourself to know I am uniquely made and I am going into this as the best me that I can be.
Yeah.
I'm, that's what I'm going to display because the only competitor is yourself.
Yeah.
I cannot be anybody else but Sylvia. So I can be Sylvia 2.0 and be the best me. And once I've done that and I know that I've done the best job that I can do,
Mhm.
it's gratifying to me,
Yeah.
and that's what keeps me going because that's how you grow. You have to, face those things that are not strong in your life. So
Mhm.
if you go after them and say, "Let me see if I can strengthen this area," that's how you grow.
Yeah. So I know that in these last 4 or 5 years, you've accomplished quite a few different things. Being the Mrs. USOA, Mrs. Colorado, being Mrs. Colorado American, and now currently Mrs. Southlands. You're pursuing the 2022 pageant
Mhm.
for Mrs. Colorado, and so obviously you've had these accomplishments, but you are still going. And I know you have a business as well. So one, I got this from my mom. She was 79 years old, and the people that she was hanging around, she's 85 now. And I
Mhm.
believe that she's 85 because of what she told me at 79. And
Mm.
she told me, I got to stop hanging around the people that I'm around because they're dying and they're giving up on life. And this was the thing at 79. She said, I have a future. That blew me away. And it really got me to thinking from a standpoint of at my age at that time, well, if she has a future, I have a future too. And we should all live life as though we have a future. So for you, Sylvia, what do you see for your future? What are the endeavors and goals and dreams that you have for the next 10 years?
I would say for the next 10 years, I would love to be that influential person that encourages others to strive to go after their dream in the beauty industry because that's where my passion is.
Mhm.
So with my business, Beauty Runs Skin Deep, and like I said, I went out and patented that or not patented.
Trademark.
Yes, thank you. I
Nice.
trademarked it so that, I didn't know what I wanted to do with it when I thought about it, but I knew I wanted to do something with it. So, at the end of this pageantry road, I still want to stay involved with the beauty industry and helping others to redefine themselves and to be confident in their own uniqueness. And possibly write a book about it, about
Mhm.
my own experience. I've always, in the back of my mind, I've always had this desire to write a book about little girls growing up dark skin, and it's okay, and you're beautiful, and just to give my dark skinned little girls the hope that, and the courage to go out and be who they can be and not worry about, am I good enough, because you are enough the way you are,
Mhm.
and those kinds of things. So I do see the influential side of it, coaching side of it, that kind of thing in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that you will do those things, and I definitely encourage you to write the book. And you know that I wrote a book and released it a year ago, and what was so important about that for me is that it's something that long after I'm gone,
Mhm.
it's still here, and there are people that will be inspired by your story long after you're gone. They're not even born yet, and they will read your book and draw inspiration from it. So that's why it's so important for you to leave that behind, because you're going to have an impact for many years to come on so many others. What I would like to do, we're going to kind of close this out, but I want to give you the floor to be able to speak to the audience. And if you're talking to that person that, say, they could be in their 30s, they could be in their 60s, and they're in a place in their life where they're thinking, you know, they're doing the mundane, the everyday, routine, and they're not necessarily happy with where they're at in life, what they're doing in life. What would be your words of encouragement for that person to take charge of their life, much like you have? So I'm going to turn it over to you.
I would say if you are in that situation, in that place in life, it's really important to get quiet and sit quietly with yourself and journal. Sit down and write some of the things. Write what you're feeling. Write why you're feeling it, um, and then also write down, what do you want to do? What makes you happy? Um, because we go through cycles in life, and what was helpful and supportive at 20, 30, 40 is not necessarily at 60. So, in different seasons of your life, you have uh, valleys, you have peaks. And for me, the peaks were nice, but it was the valleys where I got to know who I am, where I wanted to go, and also I um, spent time with God and in that valley. And in the valley, that's when I found out, am I in alignment with God? Am I doing my purpose? Am I fulfilling my purpose? And a lot of times when you're fulfilling your purpose, that's when you're happy. And when you're happy, because you're gratified by the things that you do. And the one other thing is, you have to make sure that you set a goal, because especially if you're at a um, retirement age, because you work, 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 you can't wait till retirement, and then you just, you have no reason to get up. That's not good, because if you don't have a reason to get up, you slowly deteriorate, and you have to have a reason to get up and to do things in order to stay um, active and stay relevant. Otherwise, like for me, for example, my arthritis is starting to really take hold, and I hurt if I don't work out, and I hurt worse when I hurt when I don't work out, and I hurt when I work out, but I hurt worse when I don't, because you're just sitting and everything just tightens up. So I would say, just keep moving. And I always feel like I don't know where I heard this, but I heard it from somewhere and it stuck. And don't let age change you. You change the way you age and age gracefully. So that's where your goals come in. Maybe change the way you eat. Walk 30 minutes a day. Make sure in the morning that you walk 30 minutes a day. And sometimes, even in that exercise, that period where you're exercising, you meditate as well. So you can get your meditation, your walk, your exercise. That is very helpful. And that is what has helped me to keep going. And then there's always that that little, I always call it my little my Holy Spirit, my little angel that is always tugging at me. And if I'm going in the wrong direction, I feel that tug. And that tug is what lets me know, hey, you still have life. I'm 61, but I still have stuff to do. So that's what keeps me going. And if you're sitting there trying to figure it out, I would definitely just get quiet with yourself. Get to a room, quiet, write down what it is that you're feeling. First, get in touch with what you're feeling, and then try to figure out what it is you want to do, what makes you happy. And that's the first step to getting out of that rut, because I was in the rut as well. And that's what I did. I just sat quietly. Um, I prayed and I listened to what God was saying to me. And then I also wrote down how I was feeling and where I wanted to go. So, retirement is not an end. I know some people can retire and they travel. That's great. But some others retire and they just stay home. So, if you're that person that's home, figure out something to do, learn something new. Like, I don't know how to swim, but I am going to take a swim class to learn how to swim so that I'm constantly learning. And that's how you stay relevant and that's how you stay fit, is just to try to do things that are different, something that you've never done before. Some people call it a bucket list. So write a bucket list. So I'm just checking off the list on my bucket.
Yeah, man, there were so many great nuggets in there. I think don't let age change you, you change the way you age. And the goals are definitely very powerful. And then also, I mean, what you ended it off with was the learning and continuing to learn. I honestly think because my grandmother had Alzheimer's as well. And that was always, I experienced that with her in my 20s, so it was always a part of me that was concerned about that as I grow older. And one of the things that I always told myself is I'm going to always continue to try and feed things to my brain and my mind so that I'm active and I'm keeping mentally active and keeping those sparks going within me.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that helps or not, but it's just again because I experienced that same thing. You obviously were experiencing that with your father, and you were firsthand there, 24/7. But it was enough of an experience for me to, always know that, okay, I want to make sure that I'm doing and also doing things right now, because while we can say tomorrow's not promised, our health tomorrow is not
That's
promised either.
right.
So we have to do those things and be active as we can now.
We're at an age now where you can bend down, tie your shoe, and throw your back out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you're right. Well, Sylvia, it has been a true pleasure having you here. Like I said, I think there was some great inspiration. I know that you're going to continue to inspire people. with your messages. And as you continue to succeed, your success is an inspiration for other people. So people are watching and being inspired by that. So definitely continue to do great things.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this episode of Greatness Ignited. And always remember, as I always say, yes, the struggle is real, but so is your greatness.
Ignite your greatness, take a leap of faith and you'll make it. Wanna live life to the fullest, you gotta be hardworking and patient. You got the fire within you, you got a dream that you should be chasing. Pushing through to the finish line and you got no time to be wasting, yeah. Ignite your greatness, take a leap of faith and you'll make it.